Studying and working remotely or in a hybrid mode that is combining remote and on-campus studies or working in the office. That is nowadays very common. Remote working has its own specific job demands and resources. In general, good sides, called also job resources of remote work and studies, are many. Here I share with you some of them. First of all, remote work increases flexibility. Employee or a student can more easily choose where and when to study or how to organize their working days. Second, being able to work or study from home decreases need for commuting, which in turn saves time and money. No need to scratch the car windows at a frosty morning or going back to home in a traffic jam. Working from home or some other place selected by employee or student provides a possibility to modify the work environment to fit one's own preferences. Self-selected work environment may also provide a possibility to be closer to important others, like family members or pets, perhaps. Many people feel that they have better possibilities to focus on their tasks when there is less interruptions in a home office compared to workplace or campus, or that they can use more of their working time to complete their tasks because there is less social interactions around them. And then something about the demands which are specifically relevant in remote work or studies. There is a requirement of having proper technological devices, applications, and a good network access. As large share of work is done into virtual or digital work environment, that is a must and may cause some costs. But without a proper devices and network access, that just doesn't work. Although home office may provide a cozy environment for work and study, or even having an ergonomic home office, people may not use it, but instead work from the sofa or from kitchen table. Remote work and studying changes the nature of social contexts of one's work, and less naturally occurring communication and interactions may hinder the flow of information or knowledge sharing, or even minimize informal communication and humor. It has been found that working days have become very dense. There might be several meetings in a row, or focus on tasks is so intense that one do not take enough breaks. In the University of Vaasa, we started to study remote and hybrid work in the spring 2020, when huge leap to remote work and studies was done due to COVID-19 pandemic. Our team, called LEADIS, has collected different data sets, both qualitative and quantitative. We are studying different themes, especially focusing on the questions related to sustainable performance in remote and hybrid work contexts. By sustainable performance, we mean that we see that well-being of employees or students needs to be prioritized, as only people with good physical, psychological and social well-being can perform well in the long run. So far, we have conducted studies, for example, about work-life balance, work loneliness, virtual leadership and recovery from work. Heini Pensar, who has worked in LEADIS-team, will have her doctoral defense in November, and I'm happy that Heini accepted my invitation to come and share some results from her study with you. Okay, hi Heini. Thank you for coming here. I'd like to ask you about your research. What were the strategies that emerged in your research that remote workers used to recover and disengage from work? And do you see them relevant for remote studies too?
So yes, we interviewed 89 remote workers, and it's a similar situation to if you're working from home or if you're studying from home. So I would say that these strategies are actually relevant for both kind of situations. And when we interviewed the remote workers, so we found this one experience very essential, and it was psychologically detaching from work, which means that you are temporarily forgetting about work and not thinking about it actively on your spare time. And that was a challenge in the home environment, because how do I switch off from my work when work and home are in the same space? So there were some remote workers that found it very easy, and then there were remote workers that were finding it really challenging, and it caused them to extend working days and thinking about work at weekends, which they wouldn't have done previously. So then we looked at the remote workers who were particularly good at that and what kind of strategies they had developed and were using. So we found 4 categories of those. And one of them is cognitive controlling. So cognitive means a thought process, anything that you would use knowledge for example, a decision, making a conscious decision. So you would use knowledge to come up with that decision. And one of the strategies in the cognitive controlling was making a conscious decision not to think about work.
Okay.
So, and then also the other strategy was giving yourself a permission. So you would use the knowledge, thinking about this is good for me. It's good for me to not to think about work a while, and then you would kind of permit yourself not to think about it. But of course, then you can't always hinder the things or the thoughts coming into your mind on your spare time. So you may have experienced some intrusive thinking about work and studies. But then the remote workers were using strategies that they would just train themselves to let the thought go away, come in and out. And this is an example of it is mindfulness. So you choose what you focus on. And then some of the remote workers were writing down notes. If the work thoughts would intrude their personal lives, then they would write a notebook and then just close it and come back to it later. And then they would also be using physical disconnection, which means that they were mimicking the journey from work to home. So they would literally leave their working spots and go outdoors or just leave the room, switch off the technology, their laptops and the programs that they were using for work. So that would of course work for you if you're studying as well. You just close your books, close your PC, and then you leave the spot for a while, and then you signal your brain that I'm now leaving home. And also they would use a time frame. They would schedule when they think about work and when not. And in between those 2 periods, they would then use ending routines at the end of the work shift. So they would go through what they have to do the next day and plan the next day, and that would kind of signal them when they were repeating the same routine every day that, okay, now it's time to go home. And one important strategy was absorption to non-work activities. So some of the remote workers found it difficult to forget about work, because if they were just lying on a couch and not doing anything enough engaging, then the work thoughts would still come and kind of into your mind undesirably. And then they would deliberately do something else that is engaging enough. Reading, playing a video game, going for a run. So that would kind of force you to forget about work for a while. And I think those strategies are good for any kind of situation where you want to disengage yourself from a certain activity and give yourself a break for a while.
Yeah, that sounds really good. And I think that if listeners are interested learning more about this topic, that's already published study.
Yeah.
So they can go and see the journal employee relations.
Absolutely.
Yes, and see our work.
Yes.
Okay, good. Thank you a lot. And then another question. What do you think, this kind of situation, insufficient recovery, what kind of effects it can have on the well-being and performance?
So our brain needs recovery. So whenever we are engaged in an activity, whether it's a cognitive activity or physical activity, we are activated psychobiologically. And I would say that similar to a computer's hard drive, if you keep loading it with a lot of knowledge and then you never clean it, you never give it a break, what happens? It starts becoming slow, and in the end it won't store anything, and then it will get stuck. So this what happens to us as well, that when we are overactivating our brain, it will affect our cognitive processes like memory, learning, and things like that. And of course, if you are overly activated, even at night time when you're supposed to go to sleep, it may affect falling asleep and your sleep quality. But the challenge is that usually you only find those effects when they start giving you those symptoms. So you already are that tired that you're seeing that, oh, I'm not remembering things and I can't sleep. And then it might be more difficult to train yourself to recover. And it's more effort for you than to really try and calm down your body. But making it a daily routine, that you would give yourself the time for recovery every day and find those activities that make you disengage from your work, from your studies, then it's easier to prevent these kind of effects.
Very good points, thank you. And then one more question. I would like to hear about balance between work and your personal life or work and family. How can healthy balance between different life spheres can be maintained?
It's a million-dollar question. It is difficult, and even if I'm thinking about you as a student, you may have your studies comprising a big part of your life. You may have friends that you hang out with on your spare time, and you talk about school, you talk about the upcoming exam, and you never really kind of separate those two. But actually it would be very important to separate them, because on that spare time, on your free time, the recovery happens, and you have to give that space. I would say that a good strategy for that is to look at your calendar and look at it and see how much time do I have apart from my sleeping, and then budget the time for when I'm going to study, and then I stop, and then I have my spare time activities. And it also stems from values. So what do you value in life? What is important for you? Make sure that those activities have a larger part of your budget or your time budget than your studies. And then I would also say that be careful to where you set your targets at. Are they too ambitious, for example? What can I achieve on this budgeted time from my studies? And set your targets there. If you are really valuing your studies and you want to target high, of course, then that would show that you are like investing more time on it. But then in the end, I would say that self-compassion is important. Be kind to yourself and think about what things make you feel good. Invest on those areas of life, because then you achieve the balance.
Okay.
That's how I would say it.
Great. Thank you, Heini, for the discussion.
Okay. Thank you, Liisa, for inviting me here. It was fun.
Hi, Jussi.
Hello.
It's nice that you had some time after our team meeting to stay with me and talk a bit more about remote and hybrid work and studying. In the last 15 minutes, we were talking with Heini about some requirements or demands and resources, and especially about things what can be challenging in the remote and hybrid work or studies. And I think that now we can perhaps go further on. So this is quite common stress model used in the work psychology research. What do you think about this model? Does it work for the remote and hybrid context as well?
Yeah, I think so. I think one of the main strengths of this job demands and resources model is that it's very, very flexible and can be used in very different kind of situations. And well, remote and hybrid work is one of these kind of situations. There are still in some kind of demands and job resources in the remote work context and hybrid work context, and those might be a little bit different compared to traditional on-site working. So yes, I think this is very, very good model for that.
Yeah, and because yesterday or not yesterday, but in the last section we only talked about these demands and resources, or mainly talked about these, but this model also links to the well-being and through them to the organizational outcomes. So I think that this is very important to understand that every job or studies, they have both these demands and resources, and there can be different kind of processes related. So here, for instance, this ill health process where mainly the job demands are related to impaired well-being, and we are discussing more about well-being in a second. So and then this motivational path, so job resources, but both also linking to each other, leading to good well-being, and through them to this kind of things like performance or turnover. And when we talk about this in the studying context, it's also very relevant. So if you have too much demands and you don't feel good, then you don't perform as well as in the situation when you have good resources. Would you like to add something about that?
Yeah. I'm going to the second strength of this job demands and resources model. That is actually that we can look the positive and negative sides of well-being at the same time.
That's true.
Because actually before this kind of this model, this JDR model, is actually from 2001, originally about that time. Well, the job well-being studies or research on job well-being was actually mostly concentrated on the negative sides of the well-being.
That's true.
We were studying stress and burnout, but not actually the positive well-being. Well, there have been lots of studies about job satisfaction, but that satisfaction is not same as well-being. So I think that after this model, we have more this kind of positive psychology situation, that we are studying also the positive side of well-being, the actual well-being of employees.
Yeah, and I think that also important is this like addition to the original model, including the personal resources like person's own skills, for instance, like self-leadership skills, or in this case, in the remote work or studying, like a technological skills. And then, of course, it can be, if we think about the well-being issues, kind of a different kind of personal habits or behavior, like health related, might be quite important related to the work well-being as well.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Okay, but maybe we then discuss a bit more about different kinds of well-beings. So I think that one quite common way to separate or divide the well-being is putting it into physical well-being, psychological well-being, and social well-being. And if we first think about this physical well-being in the remote work and study context, what do you think are the most important things about that?
Well, in physical form, of course, first thing to come to my mind is ergonomics. those people working at the home office might not have the good equipments as they have in the office. And of course, this is kind of we are talking about, when we are talking about remote work, we are talking about works that can be done in remote context. So like factory work or something traditionally cannot be done remotely. And those kind of physical work settings has physical risk factors that they are maybe not in this kind of knowledge work as much, but ergonomics is one of those that might be like a risk factor.
Yes, that's true. And then this psychological well-being, you already mentioned that earlier the studies were quite much focused on stress or burnout, and they still are important topics related to the psychological work well-being, going to the more like affective side or that kind of things. What else do you think are important aspects on that?
Well, I think if we go to positive side, then we have to discuss about work engagement. That is the main trend term in positive psychology has been for about 20 years now. Very popular still, and work engagement is important term. It's at the same time it describes the positive well-being, but also motivation at the same time. So that is the state that every employee wants the employee to be in, so that they're having good mental health, good psychological health, and they are very motivated and they perform well because of that. But do you have anything else to add? Any other ideas?
Yeah, I think that's really good that the studies have already been focused more on this positive side and understanding that well-being is not only about not being ill, it's also like thriving at work. That's also one thing that has been under the interest of the people who are studying psychological work well-being.
Yeah.
But if we go then to the social well-being side, and I think that is quite important, or especially important in the remote work and study setting, as we have already been finding that out in the LEADIS-team. So can you tell a bit more about that kind of well-being?
Yeah, social well-being is it's kind of tricky. At some point, it's kind of it has a similar effects or similar. It's connected to the different aspects of well-being itself. It is very strongly connected. And what we mean about social well-being is that it derives from lack of good social relationships. And that's if there are no good social relationships, then there can be bad social well-being, and that might lead to the bad psychological well-being. So they are connected, but they are. It's kind of, are they in the bad between cells, or are they separated at the same time? Kind of both at the same time. So it's kind of tricky, and we can have a very positive social well-being if employees are feeling belonging. Belonging is one of the main need of the human beings. That we have a very deep need for being able to feel belonging and connected with each other. And if we don't do that, then there is that causes several influences on human beings. But and also positive, there can be a high amount of social capital, for example, between employees and the organization. But then there are these positive sides, but the other part of the coin, or other side of the coin, is the negative influences or negative social well-being. They are for example, term of ostracism. That is like meaning that employee is feeling ostracized from work group. Then it means that like excluded from the work.
Can it even be said as a bullying in the organization or related?
Yeah, kind of. Bullying is kind of like, well, it's very active behavior is bullying, but ostracism can be like not communicating at all. So it's kind of like I'm not bullying because I'm not doing anything, but you are not taking that part of that, part of the group. You are excluding. But in ostracism, it's always it's kind of active as well, because it's about being actively excluded from the community.
Yeah.
But then there are also concept of work loneliness, and that's not the same as ostracism, because one might feel lonely even though he or she is not ostracized from the community. So it's no one is doing activity to that, any actions, but still feeling lonely.
Yeah.
And
tell a bit more about that concept, work loneliness.
Yeah, actually, the work loneliness is my main research topic at the time. Well, there's so much that I can tell it about.
1 minute. 1 minute.
1 minute. Okay. So then, the work loneliness is actually defined as the deficit between the actual and desired social relationships at work. So if employees feeling that he or she needs or wants more social relationships at work that there actually at the time there is, that's the negative balance, and that can lead to feelings of loneliness.
Yeah, so it's a subjective personal feeling, and of course that can happen in the study context too, doesn't it?
Yeah. So it can be at the workplace or at the university or at the school. It can be in very different contexts, and of course there is like a general loneliness that compiles all the aspects of life.
Yeah. How about the hybrid work and hybrid studying? Do you see that a special risk in that context?
Yeah, it's been defined as a risk factor for loneliness, work or study loneliness, but the empirical results are not very strict about that. It is a risk factor, but not necessary. So the online communication ain't as good as like meeting each other. That's kind of people have the feeling about that is lacking some kind of depth of connection. So, and it might be that in online situations, people are not so focused on the communication. In the meetings, they might be multitasking at the same time, different things, and
keeping cameras off and doing something else. Yeah.
And there can be very many like misinterpretations about when we are communicating, for example, by writing emails or using WhatsApp or something other text-based things, and because we humans tend to read like silent language and that kind of thing, so it's not easy to communicate.
Yeah, and maybe now it's good that when we talk about the hybrid working or hybrid studying, we also refer to the situation when sometimes we are on the campus or in the office, and sometimes we work from home or some other place. So there still is possibilities to also meet people face to face, and then maybe it's easier, or is it easier then to communicate via different kind of ICT mediated channels?
Yes, I think could be a good idea to be at the workplace or university at some point, but I think that's not the only solution. Of course, we can have sociability online too.
Yes, that's true. But finding an optimal combination and balance between those two might be a good solution. So What do you think, what organizations can do for that, or is there something else than the individuals? What can we do to prevent work loneliness?
Yeah, there have been some good studies about that. Mainly getting social support from workplace. So helping and asking help from coworkers, co-students, it's a good idea. And that works on site and in hybrid work as well. And of course, we can try to have this kind of informal discussions online too. That is usually something that happens in the coffee breaks and something, but maybe in hybrid work we have to make some time for that kind of informal discussions and just asking about how you do more often.
Yeah, okay. And what do you think about if we think that university context and studying? So is there something that teachers can do or co-students can do?
Yeah, good question. Maybe group works might be one option. And being like socially active in that kind of situation and try to get to know each other some way.
Yeah, building actively your network,
Yeah.
Also introducing people to new people and try to get to know people.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Yeah. Okay, but thank you so much, Jussi, and have a good day.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
And in this last part, few practical tips on how to develop and maintain your physical, psychological and social well-being when working and studying in a remote and hybrid setting. Of course, all three elements of well-being are interlinked and therefore these tips are helpful for your holistic well-being. 1. Plan optimal use of your working time. Taking account the given rules or instructions, for instance, mandatory face-to-face lectures, consider when it is useful to go to the office or campus and when to work from somewhere else. No matter where you work, remember to take breaks and have proper meal every day. 2. Take care of your physical activity. Leaving home to study in campus is likely to lead more physical activity than staying at home, especially if you have a possibility to walk or cycle to the campus, and you typically take more steps in the campus or office environment than during your day in the home office. Choosing stairs instead of lift is a healthy option. If staying at home, include some exercise also into your day and don't sit too long times. It might be helpful to track your daily activities with suitable devices and applications, for instance, wearing a sport watch. Remember the importance of recovery and balance between your different life spheres. 3. Take care of your workload and take advantage of your self-leadership skills. Setting clear goals and plans how to achieve them are essential for prevention and reduction of stress. Be realistic of the time different tasks need and be efficient in time management. Remember to celebrate your achievements. That is called self-rewarding in the literature of self-leadership. When possible, craft your job and studies to fit your strengths and help you to build a dream career in the future. 4. Develop and maintain your social relationships at work and study contexts. Regular interactions with your colleagues provides a platform to develop meaningful relationships. Although quality is more important than the quantity, it may be a good idea to intentionally meet new people and create connections. At least some of them may turn high-quality relationships over time. Meet people also face-to-face and be active in virtual communication. Consider also from the perspective of social relationship building when you choose between synchronic and asynchronous communication channels. Collaboration and collective learning are important antecedents of social relationship development and for your well-being. Thus, enjoy the possibilities to do some of the tasks in a team and learn together with your colleagues. Then I will again have a visitor from our LEADIS-team. Laura Uurila will next tell you about one very practical approach to well-being. In her PhD thesis, she studied mindfulness and how leadership can be developed with it. Next, she will tell you more about mindfulness, what does it mean, and how it could be good for your well-being in remote and hybrid work and study setting. Hi Laura. So, I would like to ask, what is mindfulness and why is it relevant for remote working and studying?
Okay, yes. Well, we can define mindfulness as present moment awareness. It is really about noticing and observing one's direct experience. That means, for example, the breath, one's bodily sensations, thoughts, feelings, and what is happening in the environment. And when we talk about mindfulness in the context of work, we talk about mental or psychological skills that can be developed and are relevant in today's work life. So, like in many situations, it is easy and natural for us people to stay focused and calm and attentive and relaxed, but sometimes it can be a struggle. Like especially if we feel pressure and if we are stressed or faced with some changes. And some people find, for example, remote working and studying, that it kind of disrupts what they have normally gotten used to. Sometimes, energy can be low, or we may have sleep problems or other physical symptoms of stress. Or it may be difficult to understand and deal with our own emotions. And this can be reflected also in our relationships, in both our professional and private lives in some negative way. So all in all, people tend to worry about the past and the future, and that's a sign that they are no longer present in what is happening in the here and now. So often people benefit from a better ability to take control over their own mind and be more present and aware of what is happening around them in their lives. Mindfulness, which is this present moment awareness, can help in getting in touch with our direct experience through consciously paying attention to what is happening in the inside and in the outside.
Okay, that sounds really interesting. How can mindfulness promote your physical and psychological and social well-being?
So research in medicine, psychology, and many other application areas shows that mindfulness can have a beneficial influence on many areas of life, and that it can promote physical, psychological, and social well-being in a holistic way. So, according to research, mindfulness practice can lower heart rate, reduce stress, and improve sleep quality. And these are some of its important physiological effects. Then mindfulness can also improve focusing and increase self-compassion. And these are just a few of the examples of its research psychological benefits. And then mindfulness can also improve social relationships with other people in many ways. For example, through increasing empathy, emotional regulation, objectivity, and perspective taking. And it is notable really that even though mindfulness is a practice that you can do or practice on an individual level, and often also you can notice the immediate benefits on an individual level. Also, this development of mental skills through mindfulness can also have an influence on what happens in relationships between people.
Yes, that's really good perspectives on well-being in the different sides of it. So how can one practice mindfulness? What can we do?
That's a really good question. Mindfulness, which is this present moment awareness, can be developed through practice. And I can introduce 4 ways to do it. First of all, one can engage in formal mindfulness meditation practices, which means stopping and stilling for a set period of time, for example, 5 minutes at a time. Or secondly, one can practice mindfulness through intentionally being present and aware in daily activities, such as walking, eating, and talking with other people.
Yes, good.
As a third way, mindfulness can be practiced through self-reflection. And this means journaling, for example, of what is happening inside of one's head, like in thoughts and regarding emotions, and also observing one's behaviors and actions. And finally, as a fourth way, it can be practiced through consciously cultivating what we call mindfulness attitudes. So attitudes of acceptance and kindness, gratitude, curiosity, openness. And often this is also what many people call the growth mindset.
Thank you, Laura. These were really nice insights for this important topic.
Thanks, Liisa, for inviting me.